American democracy is under great strain these days, first and foremost from the current nature of American politics itself, but the pandemic has also tested our political system and displayed weaknesses for all to see. My next guest, the Harvard scholar Danielle Allen, has been busily studying and writing about what we can learn from the pandemic. Her new book is Democracy in the Time of Coronavirus. Danielle, welcome. You spent a lot of time putting together groups, try to do something about this, both in Massachusetts and around the country. You come to this as a scholar. You're running for governor of Massachusetts. If I would ask you, what was the single weakness that the pandemic exposed in American society, in politics? What would you say that was?
Thanks so much, Fareed, for having me and for all the amazing work you've been doing on democracy. The single greatest weakness exposed is that we've got a broken social contract. We don't trust each other. We don't trust our government. And we don't trust each other or our government because for years, folks have been asked to pitch in, pay taxes, work hard, and haven't really gotten basic protections, access to basic health resources, basic security. And when the pandemic hit, that broken social contract just showed in spades. We had a split screen reality where some folks got protection, but others, hardworking people, frontline workers and the like, really didn't. And so I think that the fact that we have this sort of underlying problem of distrust and a broken sense of connection meant everything else we tried to do was so much harder to achieve than if we had a strong, healthy social contract.
I'm struck by the degree to which politics and polarization has gotten into COVID, because it's really quite almost unique in America. I mean, America didn't have a very strong anti-vax movement before COVID. I mean, if you'd looked at the numbers, places like France were much worse in terms of suspicion of vaccines. But then it became all part of the Republican versus Democrat, Trump versus the rest. And it seems like we now have so much politicized this public health debate that it's difficult to imagine a collective response on anything because there's always going to be opposition. So in that specific case, which still remains hugely problematic, only 62% of Americans are double vaccinated. Is there a solution? I mean, what would you do to try to get us back to where we used to be, which is there were vaccine mandates all over the country. You couldn't go to public school if your kids weren't if you weren't vaccinated. How do you get back to that ethos?
Well, I think it's a lot of work. This is really the reason I'm running for governor in Massachusetts. Our democracy is what we live or die by. The pandemic really showed us that, and it's going to take work on multiple fronts in order for us to get back there. So I think actually we have to equip ourselves at the local level with decision-making tools that are depolarizing. But I think it's also about our culture and how we orient ourselves to one another and recognizing that we have a set of multiple things we care about. We care about public health. We care about freedom as well. And we don't need to start by assuming that those things are in competition. We need to start by asking the question, how can we align these different goods and ideals that we do actually hold in common?
A lot of people believe that social media drives polarization even further, intensifies it. And certainly on looking at it objectively, I think it's fair to say that there is some truth to that. Do you have any ideas about how you change that dynamic or you address it?
I do think we have to face the fact that Facebook has broken our democracy. Again, I don't think that was intentional. I think it's unintended consequences, but it's for real. It really has supported the spread of misinformation, and we have a sort of information ecosystem that doesn't give people healthy diets of information, healthy opportunities for deliberation and conversation. I believe it's really necessary to rebuild a healthy ecosystem of local journalism.
Danielle Allen, pleasure to have you on. Best of luck.
Thanks a lot, Fareed. Great to see you.